Welcome, my healthy, strong thyroid friends. This is Josh.
And this is Jeannie. Hi, guys.
From East West Healing. We are here today to do our usual weekly check-in, Conscious Nutrition. This is episode 20. We were just talking about that. That's 5 months of being here every single Thursday. And we are here every single Thursday at 2:30. Today, of course, we talked about we are doing a live Q&A. This is actually the first live Q&A we're doing within 20 sessions, right? Yeah. So if you want to see what we've done, we've talked about everything from keto to histamine to supplements to hypothyroidism, etc. You can go to the video section on our Facebook page, which is East West Healing, and watch all 20 episodes. I know you want them. Or you can go to our YouTube page, which is East West Healing. You can search that on YouTube, and you can watch them there. It's uploaded to a special folder. Before we get into the live Q&A, and hopefully everyone brought their questions, so start typing them in or thinking about them and type them in ASAP. Let's go over a couple logistics. The first is, of course, we've always talked about this. We'll talk about it, until the cows come home. Is that we offer what we call the Restoration Thyroid audio series. It's a 7-part audio series on how to heal the adrenals and thyroid with food. It's a great way to, kind of get introduced to our work, understand where we're coming from, etc. And once again, as I said, it's complimentary. So definitely take the time to go to the comment section. I'm going to put that in the comment section. Click on it, subscribe, so you can get that audio series now. Secondly, which is just as important, we offer a complimentary 15-minute consult, and that's a chance for you to, kind of tell us what's going on, we'll answer some of your questions, kind of give you our approach on what we would do with that, right? So it's a great way to kind of meet us, talk with us, and get some insight into what's going on. So I'll put a link to that in the comment section below. So check it out, and then you can click on it and fill out the form and send it in, and we'll definitely get in touch with you within, maybe 24 hours or so. We're pretty quick with that. So that's the logistics part of it. So as I mentioned, today is a live Q&A, right? So we're not going to be talking about anything in particular. You can ask us questions, whether it's about you, a client, a food, in general, about us. Do you have questions for us about us? So that's really why we're here today. Why are you here today?
I'm here to be your support system.
I know, I need support.
Yep. Here to talk to all you lovely people. Good. Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, I just answer questions because we do get a lot of questions from people.
Every day, all day, every day, and all our social media. Yeah. And it's hard. We can't get to all of them. Yes. Just can't do it. Just can't do it. So, shoot away. We have some questions here that people sent us, so we'll kind of get to those as we work through this. But to open it up, does anyone have a question to open it up? Bueller?
You guys got at least one question.
I mean, seriously.
Started.
We got questions all day, every day, and then you say, hey, we're going to do a live Q&A. It's a chance to ask some free questions. Crickets! All right, well, I'll open it up. And then hopefully someone will chime in and pull in a question. I'm going to start with two, which are really easy to answer. The first is someone asked us about keto. Now, we have an episode on that. So definitely check out the...
Darlene. Hi, Darlene.
Definitely check out our past episodes of these because we did one on keto. The next question was about the histamine diet, histamine reaction, etc. We did a live conscious nutrition episode on that as well. So definitely check out our video. So those are 2 questions. And that just brings us to, a lot of the times you do have questions. We have so much great information out there on YouTube and our Facebook and our Instagram. So definitely subscribe. Instagram is at Real Food Gangsters, and then Facebook and YouTube is East West Healing, because we have a lot of great free information. Yeah. Jean-Philippe from Montreal said, do you have any specific tips for gyno, which is typically happens in men? Now, back in the day, do you have any tips before I...
Okay.
No?
Well, I'll just flow off you go.
She'll flow. Happens in men, and back in the day it was like only men doing steroids got gyno. And really what you're seeing is there's a couple mechanisms happening. The first is you're seeing the conversion of testosterone to estrogen. Testosterone to estrogen. And a lot of men, especially when growing up, they have estrogen buds actually around their nipple. That's why you get gyno around your nipple. So what you usually see is like the nipple, and then that's how you can tell if guys are usually on steroids. Their nipples kind of pop out, and it almost looks like a small, like, boob in a sense. Bud. So, a lot of the times you're seeing it more and more nowadays. Why? Because a lot of people are on testosterone therapy. Now, what you're seeing more of is people are getting treated generally or in a generalized way, where every time they get a shot, they will get prescribed Arimidex, which is like a aromatase inhibitor. So it decreases that conversion when they get the shot, right? And I'm not sure, I maybe sometimes it's needed, but a lot of the times you'll get that aromatization or the conversion when your body is in a state of chaos, right? When your pathways are faulty, you're in a stress state, and that's probably why your testosterone is low. And secondly, of course, there's other mechanisms. Secondly, when you're taking high doses of testosterone, that's why you see it more in bodybuilders. Now, at the same time, the other mechanism that I'm seeing, I've actually had clients with this issue, is they'll get gyno and they'll get an abscess and actually have discharge through their nipples, right? So that's the extreme case. And this just goes along with it. It's not usually like you have one or the other. So what you'll usually see is super high prolactin levels, right? You'll see low thyroid levels, etc. So anytime prolactin goes up above the norm, it's highly inflammatory in men. It can really drop testosterone levels. It can drop thyroid hormone levels. It can be a huge stress to the pituitary and the HPA axis, obviously the HPT, HPG, etc. But it causes men to get gyno and lactate. You always want to look at those if you have someone with gyno. You want to look at their testosterone, free testosterone, their thyroid panel. You want to look at prolactin.
No, it's just...
Yeah, prolactin and estradiol. Am I missing anything? Yeah. So what to do? You know, of course, a lot of the times, I haven't met anyone that just gets gyno when they're not on any of that stuff. I've really never seen it. So if they do, of course, you're seeing kind of what I just said, a body that's in chronic stress, right? That's in an inflammatory state, and everything's being driven down. So, of course, from our standpoint, it's lifestyle and food modification that tap into the autonomic nervous system. On the other side of it, you're using drugs, so you just need to maybe bring in a Arimidex or something like, they're called ergots. So there's, and don't go buy this stuff online, but I'm just saying, like, they use things like bromocriptine or cabergoline to downregulate prolactin. They're dopamine agonists, which is, it's all inverse. So what happens is it brings down prolactin and everything else comes up. But you have to still work on food and nutrition because that's the foundation. So that would be my recommendation. But I wouldn't recommend people go buying that stuff online and playing with it because you never know what you're going to get, really. There's a lot of research out there to show that you really don't know what you're going to get. So that's the mechanism, and that's my 2 cents on it. Steve Camp, he's brand new here. He found our page through one of the Ray Peak groups. Welcome, my friend. Today, we're here every single Thursday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Coast time, and usually we talk about stuff. Like next week at this time, we're going to be talking about intermittent fasting and the effect on metabolic health, but today we're doing a live Q&A. So his question is, are you guys doctors? No, we're not doctors. Number 2, are we naturopaths? No, we're not naturopaths. Number 3, do you prescribe things like thyroid hormone? Refer back to question number 1. No, we don't. Most people out there don't. Only doctors can. Naturopaths. And our approach is 99% of the time, if you've watched some of our posts and even, the episodes we've done on functional hypothyroidism, most people don't need it, right? Because they have a pituitary issue, they have high thyroid binding globulin, low thyroid binding globulin, thyroid resistance, etc., which gives you the symptoms of hypothyroidism, but you truly don't have it, right? There's other mechanisms affecting the conversion, so a lot of the times when you take it, it makes things a lot worse, and you even create more of a thyroid resistance. So, so from our standpoint, and doing this a long time, most people that we work with don't need thyroid medication. And I know there's a lot of groups, including the repeat groups, that think everyone just needs it, everyone should take it. We just come from a different camp of always food first, regulate your life and nutrition, and 99% of the time it will regulate. So I would definitely highly recommend looking into some of our free work on our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, etc., because it might open your eyes a little bit. And definitely download the Restoration Thyroid audio series that's in the comment section. So hopefully I answered your question. If you need any clarification, just put up a little more. Candace Dreyer, here's the question. We get this all the time. I would love to know. You're welcome, Steve. I would love to know what you guys eat in a typical day. What do I eat? Currently, I'm fasting. I'm doing a 24-24 fast, which means I don't eat for 24 hours and then I fast for 24 hours. So I'm fasting. I'm trying to see how long I can go without eating. That's what I'm eating right now.
We get this question so often, and I love it because I think in our approach and what we're doing with food, up against some other approaches, there's everyone's looking for this wow factor. Whoa, what are we gonna hear? What are they doing? We're not doing anything crazy. We eat proteins, we eat roots, we eat fruits, we eat some grains here and there, gluten-free grains. I don't know. It's pretty general. I mean, it's pretty general.
Yeah, I just had it was my lunch for today, which is not typical, but I've been doing some shifts lately just because, I've been feeling a little tired and more drained. Not tired, I need to rest.
Thank you, Faylene. Yes,
thank you, Faylene. We do. But I just felt like I needed a switch, and that's what this whole philosophy is about, right? You work through our 4-phase system to find out what you need and what your body needs, and you create that awareness so you don't have to log, but you tune in so much that when something is off, you know it. So you have to reevaluate what's going on to create a new kind of way of eating. It's sustainable, and that's what we're trying to teach. So for me,
I think we've both made some shifts recently in how we introduce the day more primarily, and then again what we're doing later on in the day. But we don't do two separate menus in our house. We do all the same, but there's certain things that obviously work for Josh and things that don't work for me, and vice versa. So it's I think we've just been going through some different shifts, accommodating again our own healing process, because everybody thinks that everything's perfect. It's not. We all have our stressors. We all have our things going on. So again, there's a constant adaptation. I know for me, I do a lot of dairy, maybe more than what I need to be doing, as I'm finding out. But I do love it. But we do dairy. I don't know. I mean, I think we don't do dairy.
I don't do a lot of dairy.
He doesn't do.
I didn't grow up drinking dairy. I didn't grow up eating a lot of dairy. So for me, even through healing and trying different types like goat milk that has less lactose and all that, it just didn't work. I do yogurt every day. That's something I can tolerate and works well for me. I can do cheese. I just don't do a lot of cheese because it's so high in fat and so little protein. It just throws off all my ratios. So it's not something I do a lot. And then liquid dairy, I can do honestly about 4 ounces a day, and that's all I can handle. So what I've been doing recently is the second I wake up, literally within 15 minutes, is I have a light shake. That's basically just carbs, proteins, and fat. And the protein is usually like gelatin. And then my second meal of the day is like my eggs and my fruit, right? So not to get into kind of what I eat throughout the day, but what I'm shifting towards now is 6 meals instead of 5. And I've started to, and I think this is my rhythm automatically. I'm just being reminded of it. I didn't forget about it. I guess I did. But in the winter, of course, I can use more roots than fruits, of course, because they're not available. And I tend to use a little more grains than I like to. And as the summer rolls around, I'm definitely more of a fruit person. My body thrives energetically, energy-wise, thyroid hormone-wise, and just how I feel better on fruit. So I've really cut out a lot of my grains, and I'm only eating fruit with my meals, and then post-workout's the only time I'll have grains. So that's kind of really where I am right now. But I just had 5 eggs and 2 pieces of toast. That was my post-workout snack. So, you know, for me, I'm like, just give me the food, boom, boom, I'll eat it. My food's definitely not as glamorous as her. She likes to spice it up a little bit and put the spices and make it look pretty, and they have all these different things. I just am like, and I love that, but for me, the more...
As long as I cook it.
Yeah, as long as she cooks it, I'll do it. That's the only way. But I just want to make sure that I get my food because it makes me feel good, and that's important to me, and it's simple, and I can go through my day.
And I think it's important to keep it simple. I mean, a lot of times when we're working with our clients, it's, you know, pick up 2 or 3 foods, or 3 or 4 foods, depending upon the meal. If it's a larger meal, you might you know, add a few more things, but really just keeping it simple as much as possible, because we all know we have a lot going on. And I'll look at some food logs initially, and there will be at least 17 ingredients in one meal.
Right.
And that it gives me anxiety just looking at it, you know. And I think we do need to simplify things, and they don't have to be so extravagant. But yeah, I think our food is pretty basic. I tend to do better on grains than he does, but I always do a combination of grains and fruit if that is what I'm going to do. Heavier foods sit better for me for longer periods of time, and I find that is true for most of my women because of the hormonal fluctuations. It really helps to ground women and give them more sustainability for longer periods of time. But yeah, nothing.
And just to clarify, my toast was gluten-free for everyone that's going, toast, and I had some fruit with it, right? So it's all personalized, and that's the hard thing about it. But as Jeannie said, it's not crazy. I mean, yeah, for lunch yesterday I had like some fruit with these gluten-free like Swedish crackers and some oysters. Like, that's probably the craziest thing that I eat.
It's disgusting.
It's really good. It's really good.
So
hopefully that answered your question, but I think, like Jeannie said, is don't try to think about it actually is super crazy. Start small and really find what works for you, and that's really what it's about, okay?
And somebody has, what do we mean about heavier foods? Just
that's
foods
a good
with
question.
a little bit more density. So if you look more your starchier vegetables, your root vegetables, anything, honestly, that you can sink your teeth in, because there is this trend towards liquid fuel, liquid meal replacements, meals, so on and so on, and they don't really work. So it's really just about finding, something that, again, you have to chew in order to consume.
I always say to a client, like, hey, you had a smoothie for lunch. Think about it. If they're the same macros, and you had, like, say fish or chicken with some potatoes and fruit versus that, the same macros, which one do you think is going to sustain you for a longer period of time,
calories,
right?
Same macros, yep. It's a very different effect on the system.
So I find that most people are always trying to eat these light foods. Like, I had some cottage cheese and fruit, a yolk and fruit, and I had some a smoothie. Like, I just had orange juice and gelatin, which is not a smoothie. It's completely useless. You know, whatever it may be. Or I had a glass of milk and it didn't work for me. We don't come from the camp of, like, always eating these light foods and drinking our meals.
But I love to have a glass of milk with my meal. You know what I mean? I think that's something completely
occasionally
different. Okay, occasionally. Yeah. Not all the time, but I think if you're going to do, things like broth, have it with a meal or cook your food in it. You can still retain that nutrition in a much more effective way with respect to regulating blood sugar and creating more satiety.
So we don't like liquid meals at all. No. I'm not a fan of it, to be honest with you. I only like to see people, really, honestly, never. I move people away from that, and I'd rather see solid, dense meals to provide them with energy. Now, someone said something about dairy, and we actually had a question about that. I had a client that said, I haven't drank dairy in like 20 years. I was scared of it. Someone told me it was bad for me. I did a lab test that said it was bad for me, so I stopped drinking it. But then I started watching you and your wife's work and all the information. I got so excited, and I started drinking it. I love it. And I feel no symptoms. And I said, well, here's the thing. Drink it or eat it. But don't go crazy, right? You haven't had it in 20 years. You have to really pay attention to how your body reacts. And a lot of the times, I think, as humans, we tend to overdo something, right? We don't work out, and then we start working out, we get excited, we do it 7 days a week. Then we get burnt out. We don't go anymore for another 6 months. So we tend to go a little crazy. So it's about finding that balance, right, when you reintroduce it to make sure you're not going overboard. But we did do a conscious nutrition episode on dairy. I think it was the last one, actually, so go check it out. There was another question. I ordered some hydrolyzed gelatin, as I know I don't eat enough protein, but about 12 hours after taking it in my smoothie, I had severe headaches, and my gut felt upset. Sorry. I left a few days. I left it out for a few days and tried it again. Same thing happened. Well, what's the answer to your question? Then don't eat it. It's not like a superfood. Nothing is a superfood. Remember, it's not food. It's you and your physiology, right? Now, the first thing is you want to make sure that it's hydrolyzed and not non-hydrolyzed, right?
Let me ask this. Have you been drinking smoothies regularly? Right. That would be my first question. Is that a common food for you to do? That would be first.
Yeah.
So if you could answer that, that'd be great. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So the second thing would be like, what was in the smoothie? How much did you have? Do you typically do smoothies? When did you have it? What was happening during that time of the day, etc. Now, if you're concluding that it's the gelatin, there are some people that just can't handle gelatin. Why? It's a powder. Like I said, I understand people don't eat enough protein, but gelatin isn't this thing that you can just eat throughout the day and it can be your only protein, right? I prefer people to eat the proteins, right? The beef, the venison, the buffalo, the chicken, the eggs, the dairy, the shellfish, the whitefish, the broth. So I would prefer someone, and it depends on the state of your body. If you're completely in a state of chaos, I'd prefer someone to use broth over gelatin. So really the answer to your question is you're in a place where it doesn't work for you. So don't use it. It's as simple as that. And you need to try other proteins that work for you.
Some people that don't do well on the collagen do on the do better on the fish collagen than they do on the other collagen. So that would be something to consider.
Fish collagen.
And Vital Proteins has a really high quality there.
Another question, why might my joints always ache after having... Unfortunately, people ask us a lot of these questions, and we don't chase symptoms, right? We really try to create health. We say, it's there, great. It's there, we'll keep an eye on it, right? Because think about this. There's 24 hours in a day. You're doing many things from working out, being with your kids, sitting in a car, sitting at a desk, eating food, trying new foods, etc. And you have emotional stresses on top of it. We always like to blame food, right? So I don't know why your joints hurt from having gelatin. The solution is if you really think it's gelatin, then cut it out.
But also, if adding collagen was your goal in adding collagen was to help reduce the pain in your joints, reverse. Start looking a little bit deeper and finding more frequency with your meals to downregulate the inflammation. That could be also contributing to the pains that you're experiencing in your joints. And that will be a tool for you to use in the healing process, but it may not be the end all be all, as with any supplement.
I think people look at gelatin as like this amazing thing that's going to make their joints better, their hair more beautiful. We recommend it because it has a lot of healing properties, but it is a non-inflammatory source of protein because it doesn't have tryptophan in it. But less than, I would say maximum 20% of your protein should come from gelatin, if that. You still have 80% to work with. And I think people tend to, like I had a client the other day, I'm like, you eat chicken, gelatin, and eggs. That's it for protein. That's not enough of a variation, right, to help us regulate, detoxify, rejuvenate, etc. Right? So look at what you're eating and what you're not eating, but also if it doesn't work, just cut it out. Right. Yeah. Any other questions?
I think, Darlene, if you're still on and you want to ask some questions, feel free.
Yeah. We had some other questions. Someone asked a question about braces. My son needs braces. Is this good? Is it bad? Why does he need them? Should I actually get the braces? Well, that's a personal... What?
Failing.
Oh.
I disagree, failing. I see it.
The questions like that, those are personal. So whether or not you should get braces, that's up to you, right? Of course, you know, when it comes down to it, questions like that, you have to really decide for yourself. I can't make that decision. Secondly, I can tell you why most kids need braces, and it's from mouth breathing, right? Whether it be from being a child and being fed inflammatory foods, the environment that they live in, whatever it may be, from being tongue-tied as a child, from not breastfeeding. A lot of kids, breastfeeding helps strengthen the jaw muscles, and it prevents mouth breathing. Why? Because when they're feeding, they have to nose breathe. So it really helps develop that mechanism. So we see it in like formula-fed babies as well, bottle-fed babies. So mouth breathing affects the development of the muscles in the jaw, which it makes them weaker. It affects the development of the mandible, and it pushes kids towards mouth breathing. Mouth breathing affects sleep, it affects everything, it affects hormones, it affects mood, it affects energy levels, weight gain, you name it. And this is why most kids need braces. And it's because of mouth breathing. It has nothing more to do than that. So, should you get the braces? Well, there's two schools of thought. Some say no, some say yes. There is, of course, people that say you can do nose breathing exercises and can help. Of course. But with children, that's really hard. And you can always work on it. And then there's another, I forget the name of it. There's a technique, I forget the name of it though. I'd have to come on here later and type it on here. That is out there that some people use to strengthen the jaw muscles to move or make more room for the teeth to kind of fit in and grow. I don't know anything about it. I've just been reading up on it, so I can put that on here later. Functional orthodontic, yeah, but isn't it called something different nowadays? Like myofunctional, isn't it called myofunctional? Ted? I think it's called myofunctional, but you can look up functional orthodontic. I don't know anything about it. I've just been reading about it. Yeah, they don't do braces. So check it out. But the mechanism is mouth breathing. And that's why most kids need braces. So you're not really fixing the problem, because guess what? They're still going to be mouth breathing. And when they get the braces off, they're still going to be mouth breathing, right? So really what you want to work on is reteaching people to regulate their CO2 and oxygen ratios in the body through nose breathing. And I've never done it with a child, so I can't really comment on that. Ted says, look up Sandra Colson. Thanks, my friend. I'm going to look up Sandra Colson. You can also study the work of Patrick McGowan. He's like one of the world's, he's a big pioneer in the breathwork industry. He's more Buteyko, but his work, his books they're awesome. He's amazing. If you want to understand the mechanism of just mouth breathing and all that good stuff, which is something that I love a lot.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
That is your thing.
Yeah. Next question was about colostrum. Is it good to take if I have gut issues, etc.?
It depends on where it comes from, I think.
Yeah.
It really depends on where it comes from. I think there's a lot of sources out there supplementally that are coming up in supplement form that are questionable. And I think unless you're going to be doing a full...
it has to be liquid.
It has to be liquid colostrum to make the difference that you're looking for. And again, I don't think it needs to be done for long periods of time, but I think it can be used very successfully with somebody who has a very compromised immune system.
Yeah. Has a lot of IgA in it, right?
Yeah.
So it's good for the immune system. It's good for the throat, the lungs. It's good for everything.
Yeah.
The problem is there's not a lot of it produced. It's produced for like a couple days by the mother. It's like the gold, right?
You can only get a very small amount of it for, I think $100 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, the only place I can find it, I forget the name of the company, but it's Camel Colostrum. A lot of people buy it, but it's like $100 for an 8-ounce bottle. I don't even think it's 8 ounces. So it's super expensive. There is tons of supplements out there. Personally, this is like a living substance. Yeah. And when you degrade it that much, I don't know if you're actually truly going to get the benefit. We've been doing some research on it. We found that, of course, what some industries are doing is they're actually medicating or vaccinating the cows. So they actually, so they produce the bacteria in the colostrum. So it's not.
You just really, if you're going to do it, get it directly from the source in its liquid form and pay the money if it feels right for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Another question someone asked is, what is the best formula for a child?
Well, Weston A. Price, first of all, has an amazing formula alternative
you
for
just
babies.
Have to make it.
You do have to make it. It's I have not personally used it. We have not personally used it. It was an option at one point, but we decided to do something different. Yeah, but that's one thing you can do. Look up Weston A. Price. Sally Fallon has a beautiful recipe in her book. And then there's some other formulas.
There's two. Yeah, there's two. There's one called HIP, H-I-P-P, and there's one called Holly. Yeah. HIP and Holly. HIP and Holly. Holly is just as clean. It has prebiotics in it. But there was something else.
I don't remember exactly what it was.
It was clean, just as not as clean as the HIP.
Yeah.
The HIP formula.
And I don't know if the Holly had the prebiotics.
That was the reason. It didn't have the prebiotics that babies need. So the HIP, H-I-P-P, was amazing. We used that with our son.
There's two different forms.
There is.
One is produced in Germany and one is the UK. You do want to look for the UK formula.
Yeah. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's HIPP, and there's like level 1, which you would use for like the first year. It's powder, of course. It's organic. It's biodynamic. It has prebiotics in it, etc.
That's really beautiful.
But you have to get the UK version, not the German version or the Dutch, I think. But and what's interesting is this: when we fed it to our son. You know, there's a difference between breastfed babies and formula-fed babies' poops, right? You can see it. Yeah. It's drastic. His poops look just like a breastfed poop. He did not have colic once. He did not have diaper rash once. He did not have gas once. I'm not even making this. No digestive issues. This stuff was awesome, and I highly recommend it to anyone that's looking for a formula. So check it out. Yeah. And if you have any questions on where to get it, we bought it from a company in LA.
Formuland.
Formuland, yeah.
Not Formula Land, Formuland.
Yeah.
So we're getting down to the wire here. So we have time to answer a couple more questions.
Couple more questions if you have it.
You want to touch on how many calories, how many macros? Because this is one we get all the time. And I think it's an interesting conversation.
I don't know mine right now, to be honest, because I just switched. Yeah. And I'm just...
Well, I'm not asking you yours.
Oh. Sorry.
No, it's a question that we get all the time, even working with our clients. Well, how many calories, how many macros should I be consuming at every single meal? And I think a lot of the times, again, people are looking at their weight, their height, and determining what they might need calorically, depending on how much exercise
calculator
macro calculator. Or again, if they're going into a program, it's being handed to them based on your height and weight and activity level. This is what you should be doing. We work
do it the
completely
opposite.
different. We do it completely backwards. We let you build up more organically into that space of what works for you based on how you're experiencing your food intake. What are you feeling? What are you noticing as we put that up against body temperature and pulse and observe patterns?
Right.
So we develop that sweet spot for you as we move through the process.
It's personalized.
Yeah.
We take you through our 4-phase system, the restoration, diet, nutrition, food strategy system.
Yeah.
And we work on building that foundation with food and frequency. And then we keep building you up. Obviously, there's more that's happening we're doing. But we're building you up through the consults, and you're creating that awareness. And then we balance grams, we balance ratios, calories, and then we have this small window of macros, and we start fine-tuning the macros. And then we come to this personalized place of what your body needs. So that's how we really, when we say we individualize this, we do. Because we don't go from the place of you need a 60-40-20 split of carbs, proteins, fats. Because what if someone's not even taking in carbs? That would completely overload their system. So we really look at the person, we take the time to understand them, and work up slowly through that so they get results. It's not roses, people. I'm not going to lie to you. We have people that struggle. They email us. They're crying on the phone. That's healing. That's healing. It's not easy. You have to change. And with that change, it's uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable. You know, most people are in a stress state. They have high insulin levels. They're glucose intolerant. They have low thyroid levels. They're hypoadrenic. You know, you're seeing it. And when you put food into the system, it's not going to work the way you want it to. And
I think there's also a lot of anxiety around food. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of confusion, all of which feed, again, that nervous system, that emotional piece. I mean, there's so many things around food that I think, again, we have to really be careful. And I think food is a distraction in a lot of ways. So, again, in the work that we do, we're looking at all the parts and pieces and how they affect you. And a lot of the times when we continuously bump up against the same wall, yet we're seeing things normalize, it tends to be because there's something deeper, which again gives you an opportunity. So I think that's an opportunity.
So we'll take one more question. This is from Layla. I keep wanting to ask you guys about this, parasitic infections with hypothyroidism. I've met so many people in the last few weeks with this problem. Here's my take on it. I don't know if your take's the same, but I'll just tell you my opinion on it. And this is just from working with it for, I'd say, probably half my career and then letting it go. I've never seen anyone go down the path of getting rid of these parasites and truly really healing and never doing anything else, right? Can they be a driver? Sure. But in all my years of working with people and helping them eradicate them, they would eradicate them. We'd do a lab. It'd show that it was gone, and they still had all the same symptoms, right?
Yeah, but why is that? And I think, again, if we look at hypothyroidism or we look at metabolic balances and the effect that it has on you digestively, you are vulnerable. You are compromised. So it sets you up for, again, those infections because, again, digestively, we are designed to combat those with the acidity levels of the stomach. What's the first thing that begins to be, or the production of hydrochloric acid?
Right, it's part of the immune system.
Yeah, declines as stress elevates. So, again, they go hand in hand, and if you just treating the parasitic infection, typically, like Josh says, because everything else has been affected because of that imbalance, has not been restored.
I also think it's our industry, and I was saying this to a client today. Everyone's taught to be like, you have a cortisol problem, fix the cortisol problem, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
You have low progesterone, fix progesterone, you will be fine.
Yeah.
You have a parasite, get rid of the parasite, you're going to be fine.
Right? Of the human body, and it doesn't work. And
we just don't look at it like that. Yeah. Like we said, we really are trying to create health. So if someone has a parasite infection, if it's pathogenic, like Giardia, right? Okay, yeah, you need to get it treated. But
you still need to do the work after to get
heal.
Things normalized.
Right.
Yeah.
So the way we go about it is a little different. We still want to create health. We still want to go through that process, and we still want to help people heal. And honestly, the funny thing is we've seen, years and years ago was really prevalent. That's what everyone wanted to do, was labs for parasites. And then it was H. pylori. Now it's bacteria. We're just seeing the switch. We're just seeing the, you know...
Oh, yeah. There's certain trends. There's
trends.
A lot of trends.
So I guess what you're hearing me say is it's not something we focus a ton on. And if someone comes to me and they're so hyper-focused on their parasites, and that's what they believe... then in a sense, I kind of want them to go work with someone else, because it's going to be hard to really teach them from the train of thought that we're trying to go from, you know, which is create health, not chase symptoms. And most people are always focusing on what's going to happen, instead of what they really need to do. And that's why a lot of people struggle and suffer. That's a wrap for today, my friends. We appreciate everyone that came on here.
Yeah, guys. Thanks for being with us.
We had a lot of great questions. How long have we worked together professionally? I think 157 years.
Is that what it feels like to you?
Yeah.
We have been working together for over a decade now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
It's not easy.
But it's fun.
Yep.
And it's rewarding.
It's rewarding. It's fun. Yep. Just kidding. Anyway, we appreciate you guys. We will be here next week, same time, 2:30 Pacific Coast time, to talk about intermittent fasting and the metabolic system. So definitely tune in. We appreciate all of you. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, guys.
I'm out.
Bye-bye.